moving residents experiencing homelessness into publicly supported housing, delivering crisis intervention services to persons who are plunged into the dark and deadly abyss of addiction, or directing personal care aides to the homes of persons who require help negotiating just the basic routine activities of daily living. The services that we provide in this cluster are often life-saving, vital supports that these residents so desperately need to escape difficult and sometimes dangerous circumstances. Third, as you might imagine, these services are not inexpensive. In a typical year, the district, as Jenny noted, spends over $15 billion on the major functions of government, while the services that we provide in our cluster annually account for roughly a third of this amount, over $5 billion. As one example, ensuring that 4 of every 10 residents in the city have access to quality primary, acute, specialty, emergency, and long-term care requires an annual expenditure of more than $3 billion. And as you consider your allocations tonight, I ask you to contemplate the challenges the agencies that I represent face in delivering these essential services in the pernicious swirl of the COVID pandemic. The leadership and staff in these agencies have been forced to rethink how they ensure that persons who have been forced indoors by the virus can continue to safely access services, in effect reimagining how government can work best for its residents in the midst of a serious healthcare crisis. Consider meal services for seniors provided at day programs was switched virtually overnight to an expansive home delivery program. DC Health radically changed operating protocols governing the way patients who are managed in long-term care facilities
Start with our first video budget question.
My name is Brianna Johnson and I live in Ward 7. My question is, what programs or initiatives will you be supporting to ensure housing for both low and middle income residents?
Well, I want to thank Brianna for that question, and it is certainly a area of the budget and initiatives in the Bowser administration that we've been focused on during my entire tenure. You may recall that when I became mayor, we were spending about $50 million out of our Housing Production Trust Fund. We had $50 million to spend in our Housing Production Trust Fund each year. And I committed then to always have at least $100 million dedicated to affordable housing from the Housing Production Trust Fund. And we've been able to do that every year for the last 6 years. And my commitment to doing it moving forward is just as strong. You heard John just talk about our goal that I set out. And it turns out that when you look across the whole region, that all of us, DC and all of the surrounding counties, need to produce more affordable housing so that this region can continue to grow and be competitive. But we've been the only one who's actually set a goal to do it. And not only have we set a goal to do it citywide, we've set a goal to do it by neighborhood. And I've tasked the deputy mayor with ensuring that projects move forward in every neighborhood so that we can have affordable homes. Your question's also very good because it focuses on how we can support housing for our neighbors who have very low incomes and for our neighbors who have middle incomes. And we haven't done as good a job as seeing what the government can do to support that middle income housing. We've also been focused on that and will continue to look for programs. We are very proud of the work that we have done around home ownership and continue to look for ways to support neighbors to build wealth in DC through home ownership. And I won't recall how we've grown all of these programs, but especially for first-time buyers in DC, we have a lot of supports for people to buy homes.
Great, thank you, Mayor. We're going to go to our next video question.
Hi, my name is Ashley Sanders. This is my son Brayden, and we live in Ward 4. We've lived here for 9 years now, and my question is around whether or not DPW, DDOT, and DCRA are getting enough resources, especially during COVID, to do their job effectively.
The question was, are DPW, DCRA, and DDOT getting enough resources to do their jobs effectively? The agency directors will also, and the deputy mayors will say yes, they need more. I will say that I haven't turned down a request to do more. We have some pressures, especially at DPW in terms of some of their infrastructure. In order to keep those facilities safe and to make sure we don't have any interruptions in sanitation services. I know that the city administrator and the DPW team are very focused on how we can do that. I think you saw outstanding productivity in the area of DDOT, especially with fewer cars on the road. They have been able to execute their sidewalk, alley, roadway, and bridge projects. The deputy mayor might add to that. DCRA, I think, was another area of focus, and they have been able to innovate their processes so that they can address permitting and inspections in this virtual environment. And I dare say some things that they have learned will serve us better post-pandemic. So the answer to your question is yes, I think that we've had exactly what we've needed during COVID. But I think I would add to that, because what this budget is not intended to do is to bring us back to where we were last year, but to bring us back better and stronger. And so that's what the deputy mayors and the agency directors are thinking about, looking at these budgets, getting all the basics done, but also thinking about their agencies and how they can help restaurants come back. How can they help downtown workers come back? How can they make sure that children are going to be back on track? And so those are the types of investments that we're talking about in this budget.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to remind before we go to our next video question, if you have a question by phone, you can dial the number that is on your screen, 855-925-2801, code 9046, and press star, and you will be able to ask your question directly of the mayor. We're going to go to our next video question, and then we'll go to some of our questions by phone.
Good evening. This is Imani Abdullah, and I am a Ward 7 resident, and I am a proud DCPS teacher. I teach special education students in high school. I'm interested in finding out about the school budget and its impact on the special ed resources for the 2020, 21 and 2021-22 school years. And I was wondering if it would be enough money allocated for SPED students, especially in a COVID-19 learning environment.
Well, I want to thank Imani for that question and certainly her service to our students. I know what's been abundantly clear over the last year is how important teachers are in helping our students progress and how much our students miss being in beautiful buildings with their teachers. So I want to thank them for innovating and teaching virtually and doing their very best to make their lessons interesting and engaging and staying connected with students. And we really appreciate and thank them in advance for everything that they're going to do to help students accelerate their learning. So let me turn to the deputy mayor to talk specifically about special education funding.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Imani, for the question as well. And I'd also like to thank you for your service. And your question was specific to whether we have enough resources for special needs students in the system. And I know I mentioned at the top of my own remarks that the mayor's budget last year increased the uniform per student funding formula by 3%. And that is the way in which we provide additional resources for students with special needs. And so we were able to increase our budget during this current school year for students with special needs. In addition, we have spent a lot of time in DCPS and across the public charter sector in ensuring buildings are safe and readied for in-person instruction. And the chancellor made very clear early on for DCPS that students with special needs would be first in line, amongst the first in line for those in-person opportunities to ensure that students are able to engage with their teachers in ways that will help them be successful. So we continue to invest in ways that will provide the services that special needs students need, and we'll continue to work on doing more.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We have our next question coming online from Eric. This question is for the mayor. Mayor, will you be in the budget allocating more funds for young artists and creatives to support them, and maybe through DPR programming as well?
You have to give me that again.
Yes, the question again from Eric online, Mayor, is if you'll be in this budget funding more programs for young creatives and young artists, and maybe doing that through DPR and other programming there for young artists.
Okay, so how this works is we're not prepared to say any specific thing that we will be funding in this budget.
is Julia Weinrod, and I live in Ward 3. My question for you is, how does your commitment to Pathways to the Middle Class include financial literacy training for teens and adults who are unfamiliar with personal finance?
Well, that's a great question. And it is something that I know that our public education community is focused on, as well as Parks and Recreation. And Jenny, you will remind me of an investment we made, I think, to partner with a local program, Junior Achievement, that will also build or make stronger our partnership with DC Public Schools. And Paul or Jenny, if you want to weigh in on that, please do.
This is a topic that is of great interest to those of us who work in public education, and across all of our schools, there is a version of financial literacy to ensure that our young people are coming up not just with academic skills, but also with important life skills. That's also the reason that we have included it in the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program as a standard part of the curriculum that young people get as they engage in their work-based learning. We are also ensuring that they develop skills to manage finances, to become well-versed, again, in the life skills. So.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. So we now have the results of the $100 game. So we want to thank you all for filling it out. If you have not filled it out, you'll still have time to go now or after the budget engagement forum to budget.dc.gov. You can fill out all of our survey questions. And we also have a question there to share your priorities with the mayor, what you want to see in this upcoming budget as the mayor prepares it. And we will be sharing that directly with the mayor and the budget team. So if you weren't able to get there now, you can watch the stream later and share your priorities right there at budget.dc.gov. We also have a voicemail line there that is posted on that page where you can call and leave a voicemail as well of the budget priorities that you want to share with the mayor. So the big drum roll is the winner of the $100 game with $56 on average allocated is housing. So Deputy Mayor Falchicchio got $56 allocated. We have in second with $41 allocated education. So I want to say, Deputy Mayor Kine, good job on your pitch there. And then our third place allocation is going to be transportation with $35. So good job, Deputy Mayor Babers. I think it was the intro music. So really good work on that. So we want to thank you all so much for participating tonight. If you're not able to get your questions answered, you can send, again, go to budget.dc.gov. If you would like to send a video question for our budget engagement forum on Saturday, you can email your video to budget@dc.gov. Again, that email address is budget@dc.gov, and you may be able to see your question answered here on Saturday. So to close us out, we're going to pass it to Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, I want to thank you all. Did I see the results? Okay. Well, do you want to say what they are?
Okay. They're just on screen right here.
Okay. All right. I guess not. So, Kevin, do you want to read out the results? Because I can't see them.
For public safety, 20 out of 100. Now, I've been to many budget engagement forums where I was the deputy mayor for public safety. Congratulations, I think you got more than I ever got in prior sessions. So for education, it is 53 out of 100. Housing is 56. Internal services is 30. Transportation, Deputy Mayor Babers asked for 25, she got 35. And then Health and Human Services, 49 out of 100, so the average is 49. So congratulations on your pitches. And you'll have another chance on Saturday to be able to mix it up and overtake housing as #1.
And they just made our job even more difficult. So thank you, deputy mayors. Thanks to the agency directors who are working with these deputy mayors to make recommendations to me on our budget that we'll submit to the council. And as is always the process, as Jenny laid out from the beginning, we are doing this engagement, but when I submit the budget to the council, then their engagement process starts, and they will announce further hearings on my budget proposal until we submit our 25th balanced budget and finally approve it this summer. So thank you all. Stay well, stay safe. Remember that we are still fighting a pandemic. Wear your mask. Limit your activities as best that you can. Get tested if you've been exposed, and get vaccinated when it's your turn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.